All right, so today we're going deep on something that's, well, it's been pretty buzzy.
Yeah.
Blockchain and Web3. I mean, you've heard about it.
Everybody's heard it.
Seen the headlines, right? But I think for this deep dive, we want to kind of cut through the hype
Absolutely.
and see, like, what's the real deal here?
Yeah. Is it really going to live up to the promises?
Is it, are we entering like a new era of the internet, or is this, just another tech fad? So that's kind of what we're hoping to decode today.
Yeah.
And, I always like to try to come up with a good analogy. So I was thinking, Web2, the internet we use every day.
Right.
It's kind of like renting a digital apartment, right?
Oh,
You're
yeah.
on platforms like Facebook, Google, whatever.
Sure.
They set the rules, you play by them.
They do.
But Web3, this is like the promise of owning your digital space.
I like that.
Right, outright. You control
Analogy?
your data, your experience, you get a piece of the pie.
You get a piece of the pie.
So I'm kind of excited to learn about this, and hopefully our listeners are too.
Yeah, me too. Me too.
So how do we get from the renting to the owning? Like, how do we even what's the foundation?
Yeah, that's a good question.
Of all this.
So that foundation is blockchain. And I think the easiest way to think about it is imagine a digital ledger, right? Like you've got a ledger and it's tracking transactions or information or whatever.
Uh-huh.
But instead of that ledger being kept in one place, it's copied across a whole network of computers.
Okay.
And this is the cool part. Once something is recorded on a blockchain, it is practically impossible to change.
Whoa.
Tamper-proof.
So it's like a shared Google Doc, but way more secure.
Yes, that's a really good way to put it.
I'm following along so far. This is good.
Okay.
But I have to ask, like, how do all the computers agree on, like, what goes in this shared ledger?
Right. How do we maintain consensus across the network? It's a great question. That's where consensus mechanisms come in. And basically, you can think of it as kind of like a voting system for computers.
Oh, okay.
There are different methods, but I think a lot of people have heard of proof of work. Bitcoin uses that. It's incredibly secure.
Okay.
But as you might imagine, having all these computers constantly, doing all this work to secure the network, it can be energy intensive.
Right. So that's why we hear about the environmental impact.
Yeah.
Like, with Bitcoin mining and everything.
That's exactly why.
Okay.
But the good news is there are other methods being developed that are more energy efficient.
Okay.
Like proof of stake.
Proof of stake.
And different projects are kind of experimenting all the time, trying to find that balance between security and sustainability.
Gotcha. So we've got the shared ledger, it's secure.
Yeah.
But how do we actually, like, use it to do stuff? Like, how do we go beyond just, like, recording transactions?
Right. That's where we get to the fun stuff. That's where we get to smart contracts.
Ooh, smart contracts.
Yeah.
Today.
Basically, imagine like an agreement or a contract written in code. And this code lives on the blockchain. And when certain conditions are met, it automatically executes those terms.
Oh.
So no middleman, no lawyer, no escrow accounts, none of that. Just purely self-executing code.
No more paperwork.
Exactly.
Sign me up.
Right. And this is where Web3 really starts to take shape. It takes these core elements of blockchain, the distributed ledger, the consensus mechanisms, the smart contracts, and uses to build a whole new internet experience.
Okay, I'm seeing how the pieces fit together.
Good.
But I got to ask, like, what does this actually look like in practice?
Right.
Are there, like, examples of Web3 out there in the wild?
Oh, absolutely. One of the most exciting areas is decentralized finance. We call it DeFi. So think about platforms like Aave.
Okay.
Aave lets you lend and borrow cryptocurrency
Directly
with other users. Cut out the banks. Cut out all those traditional institutions.
So no more bank fees, no waiting for loan approvals.
Exactly.
All right, that's pretty compelling.
Right. And it gets even more interesting.
Okay, lay it on me.
Aave has this feature called flash loans.
Flash loans.
Flash loans. So it's basically, think of it as an unsecured loan that has to be repaid within a single transaction block. It's lightning fast.
That's crazy.
High risk, high reward.
Sort of risk, high reward.
Opens up all these possibilities for developers and traders and all sorts of things.
My head's spinning a little bit, but in a good way.
Yes.
This is really interesting stuff. But it's not just finance, right? What about other areas?
Oh, there's lots of other areas where Web3 is making an impact.
Okay, yeah, tell me more.
So imagine social media where you actually own your data and your content. So platforms like Mastodon are built on this idea. So they're not controlled by a single company, but rather by this network of interconnected servers.
So it's kind of like email. Like I can have an account with Gmail, you can have Yahoo, but we can still like email each other.
Exactly. You got it.
Okay.
You have more control over your privacy, your data, and even how the platform is governed.
Interesting.
And then you have platforms like Steemit that actually reward you with cryptocurrency.
What?
For creating content. The more engagement you get, the more you earn.
Okay, so that's like a real incentive to like create quality content.
It is.
Not just like, whatever goes viral for the wrong reasons.
Yeah, for sure.
Interesting. What about gaming? I feel like gaming is like
gaming is huge.
A natural fit for all of this.
Oh, yeah. Gaming is perfect for this.
Yeah.
So, you have games like Axie Infinity, and it's, you collect these little creatures called Axies, you battle them, but here's the kicker. You actually own those Axies as NFTs.
Wait, NFTs? Okay, that's another one of those buzzwords we got to unpack.
We definitely do.
But first, tell me about these gaming NFTs. Like, what makes them so special?
Well, it's true. Digital ownership. It's like having a deed, but for a digital item.
Whoa.
You can prove you own it. You can trade it. You can even, sometimes you can earn money from it.
It's like a whole different way of thinking about like, my digital stuff.
Exactly.
It sounds like we're on the verge of like a digital revolution.
I think so.
Where users actually have more control, more ownership than ever.
For sure.
But before we get too carried away, I think we need to take a closer look at these NFTs and really understand what they are and how they work.
Absolutely.
So what do you say we dive into that next?
Let's do it. Okay, so NFTs, right? NFT stands for non-fungible tokens.
Non-fungible tokens, all right?
It's a mouthful, I know.
It is.
But basically, think of it like this. A Bitcoin is fungible, meaning one Bitcoin is the same as any other Bitcoin.
Okay, yeah, that makes sense.
But an NFT, that's unique. It's like a digital fingerprint.
Oh, okay.
Each one is distinct.
So each one is like one of a kind.
Exactly.
And it can be like verified on the blockchain.
Yes, exactly.
Okay, so it's like a digital certificate of authenticity for a digital item.
That's a good way to put it, yeah.
But what kind of things can actually be turned into these NFTs?
Pretty much anything digital. We've talked about gaming items.
Yeah.
But it goes way beyond that. Digital art has just exploded.
Really?
With NFTs. Yeah, you have these platforms like OpenSea, Rarible.
Okay.
And artists can mint their work as NFTs. Basically create it as an NFT.
Yeah.
And they can sell it directly to collectors.
So they don't have to go through like a gallery or an auction house or anything.
Cut out all the middlemen.
Whoa.
Yeah, it's big for artists.
It's got to be a game changer.
Oh, absolutely.
For the art world.
It is. And here's another thing.
Okay.
Because it's on the blockchain, artists can actually program royalties into their NFTs.
What does that mean?
So every time their artwork is resold, they get a cut.
No way.
Automatically.
That is so...
Through a smart contract.
So they benefit from the increasing value.
Exactly.
The empowering creators.
Right. It is.
It's pretty cool.
But it's not just art and gaming, right?
Yeah.
What other applications are there for this?
So many.
Yeah.
Imagine digital passports
right.
or certificates stored as NFTs, much more secure.
That makes sense.
Very difficult to forge.
Yeah, for sure.
We're even seeing potential for NFTs to be used for things like medical records.
Oh, really?
Yeah, giving you true ownership over your health data.
Okay, now we're talking real-world impact.
Yeah.
That could be huge.
Yeah.
Secure medical record, verifiable credentials, a more trustworthy, digital landscape.
Exactly.
It feels like the possibilities are kind of endless.
It's pretty mind-blowing.
It is.
Yeah.
But I got to ask, with all this hype around NFTs, are there any downsides? Well, yeah, there's some things to consider.
Like what?
One is the environmental impact.
Okay.
Particularly with NFTs that are minted on those blockchains that use proof of work.
Right.
Those energy-intensive ones we talked about.
Gotcha.
They can have a significant carbon footprint.
So the same sustainability concerns that we talked about with blockchain generally kind of apply to NFTs as well.
It does, yeah. But the good news is there is a growing movement towards more eco-friendly solutions.
That's good to hear.
A lot of NFT projects are now choosing to use blockchains that use proof of stake, for example.
Right.
Or they're looking at ways to to offset their carbon emissions.
That's good. Yeah.
So I think the industry is starting to take it seriously.
Yeah, okay, that's encouraging.
Yeah.
What other issues are people kind of raising about NFTs?
Well, another concern is, market manipulation and speculation.
Okay.
You see, we've seen some NFT prices just skyrocket.
Yeah.
And so there's some worries about, bubble. It's important to do your research.
Yeah.
Understand the value of an NFT before you invest in it.
So it's the classic buyer beware
Yeah.
situation.
Maybe
Just
not.
because something's an NFT, it doesn't automatically mean it's valuable.
Doesn't guarantee anything, no.
Gotcha. So with any emerging market, there's going to be a need for like caution and due diligence.
Absolutely.
Okay. Well, it's clear that blockchain and Web3 are having a huge impact
For sure.
on the tech world.
Yeah.
But what about like their potential in other industries? Like, could they disrupt sectors like healthcare or finance in a meaningful way?
I think they already are.
Really?
Yeah. We're seeing it.
That's exciting.
We're seeing glimpses of it. Imagine, like in healthcare, imagine a world where patients have complete control over their medical records.
Okay.
They could share their data securely with doctors, with researchers, without having to worry about privacy breaches.
Yeah, that would be huge.
Yeah, wouldn't it?
Especially with like, all the concerns around data security and privacy in healthcare these days.
Right, right.
Are there actually like real world examples of this happening?
There are, yeah.
Okay.
There are projects like MedRec, for example, that are exploring blockchain-based solutions for medical record management.
Interesting.
And the idea is to give, patients true ownership of their health data.
Okay.
But still, enable them to share it easily.
Gotcha.
With healthcare providers.
That's really cool.
It's promising, yeah.
It is. What about other areas of healthcare? Could blockchain like impact things like drug development or the fight against counterfeit medication?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Those are definitely areas that are ripe for disruption. Imagine a pharmaceutical supply chain that's tracked on a blockchain.
Okay.
So every step of the way, from manufacturing to distribution, it's recorded, it's verifiable. It would make it so much harder for counterfeit drugs to enter the market.
So blockchain could actually save lives by ensuring the authenticity and the safety of medications.
Potentially, yeah.
That's powerful. What about finance? How is blockchain changing like how we think about money and banking?
Well, one of the most immediate impacts is on cross-border payments.
Okay.
So you have companies like Ripple that are using blockchain to enable faster, cheaper, more transparent international money transfers.
Interesting.
So think about, the impact this could have for people sending remittances to family members in other countries.
Yeah, that's a huge use case. It could be like a lifeline for families.
It could.
Especially in places where, traditional banking services are harder to come by.
Absolutely.
So blockchain's not just a technology for like the wealthy elite. It's
not at all.
Can be used to
Look, the opposite, yeah.
Really benefit, people across the board.
Yeah, I think it has the potential to really level the playing field, create a more inclusive financial system.
Interesting.
And, one example of that is this concept of tokenized assets.
Tokenized assets?
Yeah. So basically, you're taking real-world assets, like real estate or artwork, and you're representing them as digital tokens on a blockchain.
So, like, instead of needing millions of dollars to invest in a skyscraper, I could buy, like, a fraction of it through a tokenized asset.
Exactly.
Okay, that's cool.
And platforms like Realty, for example, are already doing this with real estate, making it possible for anyone to invest.
Wow.
Regardless of how much money they have.
So it really democratizes investment opportunities.
It does.
That's incredible.
And then there's also this potential for blockchain-based credit systems.
Okay.
That could provide access to credit for people that are currently underserved by traditional financial institutions.
So like folks that might not have a credit score or, are kind of excluded from the system.
Exactly. So it's pretty amazing to think about the potential to create a fairer, a more equitable world.
Blockchain for good?
Blockchain for good. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
But, with all these exciting developments, are there any challenges?
Yeah.
Any roadblocks holding it back?
Okay, yeah. What are the challenges? What are we up against here? It feels like we've only just, kind of scratched the surface here.
I think so, yeah. And that's what makes this so interesting to follow.
Yeah.
It's constantly changing. New things are happening all the time.
As we kind of wrap up this deep dive, I'm curious what's next? Like, what are some of the things on the horizon that we should be keeping our eye on?
Well, one area that I'm really fascinated by is how blockchain is intersecting with some of these other emerging technologies.
Like what?
Like artificial intelligence
Okay.
and the Internet of Things.
Okay, AI and IoT.
Yeah, thanks.
So like what would that even look like?
So imagine like AI algorithms that can analyze, massive amounts of data that are stored on a blockchain, and they can, find patterns and insights that we wouldn't have been able to see before.
Yeah.
It could revolutionize.
That's cool.
Scientific research, business decision-making, all sorts of things.
Okay, that makes sense. And what about the Internet of Things? Like, how does blockchain fit into that picture?
So imagine a network of devices, right? Like your refrigerator, your car, all these things are connected,
right,
and they're able to communicate and transact with each other securely and autonomously using blockchain.
So they can like talk to each other and like do stuff without us having to get involved.
Exactly.
That's pretty wild.
It is. It's like a seamless world.
Yeah.
Where machines can collaborate and interact.
That's some futuristic stuff right there.
It is.
But I guess beyond these specific technologies, like what are some of the broader societal implications? Like how is this shift towards a more decentralized internet, like how is it gonna like impact our lives in the years to come?
That's a big question.
It is a big question.
And I don't think anybody has the answer yet, but I think one thing that is clear is that the lines between the physical and the digital are really starting to blur.
Yeah, that's true.
And as our lives become more and more intertwined with technology, the values and the principles that are built into blockchain and Web3, I think those are going to have a really profound impact on how we interact with each other.
Yeah.
And how we interact with the world around us.
It's not just about like, creating new gadgets or platforms or whatever. It's like we're rethinking the fundamental structures of society.
I think so.
So how we organize ourselves.
I agree.
In like the digital age.
Yeah, blockchain and Web3, they give us these new tools and frameworks for governance, for collaboration, for value creation.
Interesting.
They give individuals, they give communities the power to, to really take control.
And be in the driver's seat.
Yeah, exactly.
Of their digital destiny.
And build a future that aligns with their values.
That's a really inspiring vision.
It is.
But it's not without its challenges.
No, absolutely not. There will be challenges.
Like, what are some of the things that we need to be thinking about as we kind of move forward into this uncharted territory?
Well, we have to think about, how we ensure that these technologies benefit everyone.
Right.
Not just a select few.
Not just the wealthy elite, the people in Silicon Valley,
That's like, yeah. It's a big question, and there's no easy answers.
It's a tough one.
But it requires, ongoing dialogue, critical thinking.
Yeah.
A willingness to really wrestle with these ethical and societal implications of these technologies.
Yeah. Yeah. We gotta ask the tough questions.
We do.
About power and privacy and the distribution of wealth,
Yeah, in a decentralized world.
Right, exactly. So it's not just about like embracing the technology blindly. It's about being thoughtful and shaping.
It's about shaping it.
Its development in a responsible and in an equitable way.
For sure.
Well, I really appreciate you taking the time to kind of walk us through all of this.
You're welcome.
It's been a really eye-opening deep dive into the world of blockchain and Web3.
It's been my pleasure.
Yeah.
I love talking about this stuff.
For our listeners who are, maybe want to keep learning, what are some like resources or communities you'd recommend?
So there's tons of stuff online.
Yeah.
But good places to start. You could check out the Ethereum Foundation website, the Bitcoin white paper. Look at some of the websites of the leading projects like Aave, Uniswap, OpenSea.
Okay.
There's also some really vibrant communities on Discord, Reddit, where you can connect with people and learn.
That's awesome. And I guess the takeaway is this world is constantly evolving.
Constantly.
So, stay curious. Stay informed and and don't be afraid to dive in and explore.
Yeah, just go for it.
Before we sign off, any final thoughts for our listeners?
I've been thinking about this and I keep coming back to this question. If Web 2 was about connecting people.
Uh-huh.
What if Web3 is about connecting individuals,
Okay.
but with true ownership and control over their digital lives?
That's a really good question.
Something to think about.
It is something to think about.
For sure.
Well, thank you again for joining us on this deep dive into blockchain and Web3.
It's been fun.
We'll be back soon with more fascinating topics to explore.
Looking forward to it.
Until then, keep learning, keep questioning, and keep pushing the boundaries of what's possible in this, this brave new digital world.
I couldn't have said it better myself.